afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Lifestyle with Dr. Moby. I'm Dr. Moby, and let's welcome Devin. Hey, Devin.
Hello, Dr. Moby.
Hey, Devin is calling us actually from, I forgot to ask you which state.
Yeah, I'm currently living in Alabama.
Okay, very nice, very nice.
He's like,
So, yeah,
Alabama, what the?
Alabama. Yeah, yeah. Okay, my God. Okay, so tell us about yourself, Devin.
Sure, Dr. Moby, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. And hello, everybody that'll be watching this now and that's going to be watching in the future. So, my name is Deven Rodriguez, and currently I'm active duty military officer. And on top of that, I have my feet in a bunch of different buckets. I'm also a motivational speaker, a certified life and leadership coach, and I have my own podcast as well that Dr. Moby and I were talking about just before we got started. It's called the One Life Podcast, and
Mm.
that name is very sentimental to me, and it came out of a specific instance that we'll get to later if we get to it.
Yeah.
And then I also am an ultramarathon runner as well, so I run long distances, and that's my sport of choice. I was never the fastest, but I can endure a lot of pain and I am able to get my body into good physical shape that I'm able to do well in that sport. So yeah, I do a bunch of things, but ultimately, Dr. Moby, what I really have a calling to do is to empower other people to live principle focused lives where they focus on developing these sets of principles within themselves that serves as their guiding light instead of just relying on a thought that comes into their mind to make a decision. They can rely on principles that will enable them to really have an open mind and to know the answer to any decision because they know what principles are most important to them. So I'm just on a mission to do that and to live a life so that even when I am no longer here, I continue to live through my work. And that's what every great person throughout history has continued to do. And I intend to join that group of people as well, as I believe you will as well, Dr. Moby. So thank you for having me here today.
Well, thank you, and we are honored. And first of all, to be with the U.S. Army and it's July 4th, and we just salute your services and thank you for your services and all everybody who is serving and in whatever roles they are. It means a lot to all of us. Protect all of us. So, and also, realize that whatever anyone can do, try to help the U.S. Army always. I was fortunate myself to serve as as a physician, and it helped a lot of folks, of course. uh, and I learned myself a lot too. There's I think a lot of great skills, leadership, as well as confidence building, as well as a person grooming, physician also. I learned a lot. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. You're absolutely right. We are going to build this good message for everyone to
Yes.
realize they can make, and this is what really comes down to. It's not about you, me. It's about you know people believing in that and continuing this journey. This is the hardest journey, I will say. Any more difficult than studying books or which are behind me, or so I think ultimately comes down to tell me what really motivated you to start this.
Yeah. Well, what motivated me to start my journey, Dr. Moby, was seeing the transformation that personal development had in my own life.
Mm,
I grew up as an individual where for 6 years, from the second to the eighth grade, I moved to a new neighborhood. And along with that new neighborhood came a honestly horrible experience in one aspect. And when I say that, I was bullied for 6 years of my life,
mm,
where every day was just a waking hell. If anybody's listening to this, have you ever been just afraid to go somewhere? Well, every day I was afraid to go to school. And the reason why was the color of my skin. I was a little bit darker than everybody. And
mm,
as a result, they came to view me as the outcast.
mm,
And yes, I was beat up a lot. I couldn't leave my house. I remember one time I went to the park and I was playing basketball, and the ball hit off the front of the rim, and then it ended up landing in the hands of one of the bullies, and he was 4 years older than me. So he picked up the ball and he kicked it, and he said, "What are you going to do about it?" I said, "I'm not going to do nothing about it," of course, because he was 4 years older than me. So I went to proceed and walk home, and I walked through the park. And then once I got to the playground, I realized that there was 5 of the bullies waiting for me in the playground.
Mm.
And I knew in that moment that something bad was going to happen. So I immediately went and I ran to the gate that would enable me to leave the park and go 2 blocks to my house. Well, I got to the gate and I found out that they had locked the gate. And I
Wow.
managed to run through them. I don't know how I did. I ran straight through all 5 of them. I think I caught them off guard, but I got to the gate and it was locked and I was shaking it. Trying to open it, but it wouldn't open. And then for about 5 minutes, I was just in a fetal position being beat up. And I think that there are a
Wow.
lot of people in our society that can relate to that story. Maybe not literally, but figuratively, that we're living in a fetal position sometimes, feeling as if life is just beating us down. But
Mm.
I'll explain the next part that I want to touch on, Dr. Moby, because you said what made you get into this.
Mm.
Well, my parents and I believe that all of us have choices to make in life. We make choices, and our choices make us, as one of my mentors says. I
Mm.
went home, and my parents, after they saw me bloodied and just not looking good after what just happened, they gave me a choice to make. They said, Deven, why don't you allow us to transfer you to another school? And almost immediately, without hesitation, I turned to them and I said, Mom, Dad, I'm not going anywhere.
Wow.
And in that moment, Dr. Moby, I made the best decision of my life.
Mm.
Because if I would have said yes, transfer me to another school, I would have laid a foundation in my life that would have said, it's okay to run away from your problems.
Mm.
But I made a conscious decision that I did not want to allow anybody else to dictate my future except for me. I wanted to be the one. So then fast forward in the 8th grade, I was nominated as the school president by the same people that beat me up in the park that day. So by me staying in that school, I ultimately won that battle. But then really quickly went to high school and I fell in love with personal development after an experience that I had with my father that was really an enlightening one. And I began to read personal development books. I began to listen to motivational videos and audio tapes. And after a while, it wasn't instant. After a few months, I started to see how my reality started to change. I started to become so much more happy. I started to become a lot more optimistic. I became so much more focused on my goals. I began to set goals, which I had never done before. Everything in my life just started to change for the better. So when I saw what it did for me, I said, I want to do this for other people. And I was a mediocre student for a long time, but an experience with my dad, and I'm not going to go too deeply into it. He basically just asked me this question. He said, Deven, what makes you any different from anybody who's ever achieved anything great in this world? I said,
Mm.
Dad, I have no idea. I'm only 16 years old. I don't know why you're asking me this. Can I go back to playing my video game? He said, no, answer this question. I said,
Yeah.
Dad, I don't know. He says, Deven, never forget what I'm about to tell you. There is nothing different about you from anyone else who's ever achieved anything great in this world.
Mm.
They put on their pants one leg at a time. They put
Mm.
on their shirt one arm at a time. So I ask you again, what makes you different?
Mm.
I said, Dad, listen, I don't know. Can I just go now? And he said, yes, son, you can go now. You can go now. But in that moment, he planted a little seed that enabled me to think. And in fact, it kept me up that night and I couldn't go to bed. Usually I hit that pillow. We're talking about sleep, Dr. Moby. Usually I hit that pillow and I'm out. But that
Okay.
night, I just couldn't fall asleep. And when I finally did, I heard a little whisper that just kept on saying to me, there's nothing different about you, nothing different about you, nothing different about you. And I tried to ignore it. But it wasn't until I woke up and I said, stop, that it finally went away. And I believe that that experience was the greatness within me that was waiting for me to just acknowledge it in order for it to just leave me alone for a little bit. And we all have those whispers. So I went from a mediocre student where I was 60th in my class right before that conversation to going back to school 2 months later and being ranked number 5 in my class because
Wow.
I saw what was possible for me.
Mm.
Because prior to that, Dr. Moby, I was putting people on a plateau that was way above me, saying,
Mm.
oh my goodness, they must be so special, so gifted, so talented. Oh, look at all of them. I was worshiping them. But once I said, and I internalized it, and I thought, there's nothing different between me and anybody who's ever achieved anything great. Then I leveled the playing field. So now it was actually possible for me to raise the bar instead of keeping it where I was. And then eventually going on to college, and well, first I was rejected from almost every college I applied to. 10 out of 12 colleges I was rejected from. But once I got there, I was able to have a perfect grade point average. I was ranked, in fact, as a top 100 business student in America by Poets and Quants, which is the end all be all for everything business schools in the nation, and featured in Forbes and Yahoo Finance. And I was ranked a number 3 ROTC cadet in the country out of 7,000. And I say all of this not to impress anybody, but to impress upon you the fact that if somebody that lived a life, a broken life, in the fetal position for so long, and I was able to turn that around and do what I did at such an early age, I believe that anybody else in this world could do it. They just need to be showed how and to know that it's possible. So, Dr. Moby, that's why I do it, because I saw the impact that it had on me. And I'm just a regular average dude that's able to do some extraordinary things by developing my mind and investing in me. So now I just try to pay it forward to other people.
Wow, beautiful and very well said. I think you have really narrated so well, and this is such an important topic. A lot of people, what you are saying exactly, they think that, they when they're talking to me, and also they think, okay, I lost weight and all that. Is it difficult? I said, no, not really. I was the same person before that, and I never paid attention that you have all that in you, but you have to believe in it. There has to be hope, and then there has to be light, which you see that. If you don't see the light, and you are wandering around, then that's where you lose your focus. So it is all about discipline. It's all about thinking, and that brings another important topic, which I always admire and I would like to share also, is a hope. A lot of people, that's a famous experiment with the mice, if you remember, they did it, that they let the mice drown, and the mice drown in 15 minutes. Okay. And they, before they did the next batch of mice, they pulled them out by 14th minutes or so, and then put it back. Guess how many minutes did they fight? 60 hours.
Wow.
So this is what hope does to your brain. If you can fight 60 hours, same mice, instead of drowning, and then this same thing happens to us. If we think we all have difficulties around us, but if we give up and if we think that we cannot fight them, you are mistaken. You are very well equipped to actually handle 10 times or even 100 times more. But you have, people say, where is the miracle? I said, for miracles, you first have to believe in it.
Mm.
You have to visualize it. You have to believe in it. And if you don't do that, uh, there's no, and that's why I think we have dreams, and we want to have dreams, and we want to accomplish our dreams. So it is beautiful thing actually to have dreams, and then you build your dreams, but you can do it. That is the key, and I think you're very well said. And this is a message, with all this now. Look, what we had, pandemic, COVID, and so forth, such a disaster everywhere. But because we believed in that there is a light at the end of tunnel, we made through it. Now it's much better, and it'll be again better, and we'll defeat this. And that's what our all history is all about, mankind, right?
Oh, absolutely, Dr. Moby. And I know it's been such a weird time this past year, and it's been such an unfortunate experience in so many ways. And I I grieve for those that lost people, and I know
Yeah.
that people are still struggling with it. My heart goes out to everybody that has been affected to it. It's been such a sad time. But like you said, there's no better time for hope than right now.
Yeah.
There is no better time for hope than right now. But the thing that I want to talk about when it comes to hope, it's one thing to believe in hope, Dr. Moby, but it's another thing to prove that you should be hopeful. And
Yeah.
what I mean by that is that you have to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation where
Hmm.
you can prove to yourself that the hope that you have in yourself is credible.
Mm.
Because I believe, Dr. Moby, that one of the things that is wrong with a lot of us, and one of the coaching programs I'm in right now is with Bob Proctor. And Bob was talking today. I was listening to one of the calls we had. It's a group coaching. I don't want anyone to think you're coached one-on-one by Bob. No, I'm not. Okay. That would be nice. But no. But he was talking about that a lot of humans lack self-respect.
Mm.
But
That's
what
a
type of self-respect am I talking about? I'm talking about the type where you tell yourself that you're going to do something, but then
mm.
you don't do it. And as a result, you come to believe and form a self-image, which is one of, I'm not capable
Mhm.
of keeping the promises that I set to myself. It's like, Dr. Moby, if you and I were set to meet today, and then you tell me, hey, we can't meet. And I say, okay, when are we going to meet? And you tell me next week at this time. And then you don't show up again. And then that happens 5 more times. Eventually, I might be like, okay, enough with him. I don't respect him. Now, the thing is, and of course, I respect you, Dr. Moby. You know that. But I
I,
say that because we do the same thing with ourselves. We constantly break the promises with ourselves. And just as if I were to lose respect for somebody that just said something to me and then ended up never coming through, that's the same thing that happens with us. So the reason why we don't have hope, and I'm going to say hope in ourselves for a better future, is because we look at who we were in the past and see that we broke all the promises that we set for ourselves. I'm going to lose weight. You started on a diet for 2 weeks, you broke it. There's no hope. That's what people come to believe. There's no hope for me. I have no
mm.
discipline. I'm a person that doesn't do anything right. All of these thoughts. But we have the ability, we have higher faculties that exist in the conscious minds, and one of them is the imagination. And
Mm.
with that imagination, we can paint a picture of what we want to be like. Who do we want to become? And instead, because what most people do is that they focus so much on their present results and their past results instead of focusing on their future desired result. And
Mm.
when you focus on what it is that you want to achieve in the future and you
Mhm.
focus on that beautiful image, it gets impressed on your subconscious mind. And you know what they say, whatever is impressed must be expressed. And it's a cliche statement, but it's true. So the thing that I'm saying is that in order to be hopeful, you can't look at where you are right now. You have
Mm.
to be able to take a step back, an objective step back, not a subjective, an objective. Say that, you know what, I'm just going to take a step back from this and I'm going to look at this for what it's really worth. And number one, I'm going to look for the lesson in whatever it is that I'm going through, because
Mhm.
the past is where I learn the lesson and the future is where I apply it. So the hope comes from the future. This is what I
Mm.
want my future to look like. But you don't live in the future. As Dennis Waitley once said, losers live in the past. Winners learn from the past, live in the present, and are working towards their futures. So
Mm.
the hope comes from having this picture in your mind of where you want to go, regardless of where you are right now. And
Mhm.
then putting forth the effort on a daily basis, knowing that you will eventually get there. You don't know when, you might not even know how, but eventually you will. And I think that this is a perfect message coming out of the pandemic where so many people are facing uncertain times. They don't really know what their future holds. Paint the picture for what you want your future to look like. There's a quote, and I'll end on this, Dr. Moby. Ralph Waldo Emerson once wrote, he said, the paintbrush can only go as far as the heart is willing to imagine.
That is beautiful.
So
Yeah, that is beautiful.
one's life can only go as far as in which he is willing to imagine. So
Mm.
just think, what do you want your future to look like? But don't base it off of where you currently are. The only way to gain hope instead of having a feeling of defeat is to paint something based off of where you want to go. So
Mm.
just do that. Don't focus on the past or what your results are right now. Chase after something bigger and better. You got more inside of you.
I know, and that is. But a lot of people ask me, and I was in another podcast, and they asked me, who impressed you, and who do you follow? And I said, my motivation is always, common people. So I meet people at grocery store. I met, over with pandemic, and with, of course, me being a first responder working at the hospital with all this pandemic. And they asked me, who was your motivator to? I said, well, there were times which we broke down too, and this was like, but our my biggest thing was common people who were working by me, people who were cleaning bed sheets or cleaning the hallways of the hospital or clinic. I asked them, and they were motivation for me because they were working tirelessly like us too. And they were not being paid as much as we get paid. And I said, I salute you all because you are really bringing me that message, the courage, and to go on with this pandemic. And so for me, common people, there are a lot of heroes out there, but they don't get mentioned like big celebs or anything. But they are there, and every one of them can be, like you said, there's no difference between a big hero and common people. They all are, but they don't appreciate what they have and what they're doing.
Absolutely.
And that is beautiful message about self-respect and value yourself. You have already achieved, every one of you have already achieved something in life. All you have to do is build another block.
Mm.
So, but to build another block, you have to appreciate where you are, and you have to then go next. But you have to imagine and also have hope, have clear direction in your mind. It is never a race. It is slow and steady progress. I always bring back tortoise and rabbit. You can be rabbit, yes. You can take a couple of jumps and say, I have reached, and then you will lose. So it's going to be patience. It's going to be, so that's where I think a lot of things come from patience.
Oh
That
yeah.
is such an important character, because once you lose that, you can get into disappointment pretty quickly. Like you said, people try to lose weight and they get disappointed. I was too. I tried to do that. But for some reason, if you get disappointment and you lose hope, that's where you go negative.
Yep.
That's where you go wrong. So don't ever do that, because then you start wondering left, right, left, right. You don't know where you are.
And the
Uh,
thing, Dr. Moby,
mm,
with that, why we tend to lose hope is because there is no way
mm,
to measure how long it is going to take somebody to reach their desired outcome.
that's
There's we all know that they have been able, I say they, scientists and professionals that study agriculture, and they know the gestation period for the growing of a certain crop. Let's say
yeah.
let's say any crop, you pick any crop, a
Mhm.
scientist could tell you how long it's going to take to grow. And when I say gestation period, I mean the period of which it's underground and it's forming before it sprouts above ground and you could see it. But the thing is that when we plant a goal, that's a spiritual seed, and you can, maybe somebody will be able to in the future, but there is nobody in the world who has been able to determine the gestation period for a spiritual seed, which is what a goal is. You plant that seed in your mind and it starts going to work if you are repetitive with it and you fertilize it and so forth. But it might take you 2 years, it might take you 2 months. That's why, do not get discouraged if it's not happening as quickly
Yeah.
as you don't want, as you would like it to, because there's no way to actually measure it. So I just wanted to mention that, Dr. Moby.
No, no, this is such an important thing, because a lot of people, as you said, they have this expectation that in 3 months, 6 months. So by the same token, I get a lot of patients saying, "Oh, we want to lose weight or do this in 30 days." So because they have this expectation, which is, in my opinion, unrealistic. Okay, so you don't want to do that. Yeah, and I tell them, even if you do that, let's say even if you do that change in 30 days, um, what is the plan 60 days, 90 days, 5 years, 3 years down the road? Okay, Is there a plan you have to keep that off? No. And that's where you see a lot of people want this immediate result of things, and then they lose patience on that if they don't get it. And this is sad. I mean, it could be even with COVID. I remember when it started, a lot of folks would ask me on podcasts, is when it's gonna be over, and when is gonna be, and then when my answer was, are you wearing mask, are you doing things what you're supposed to do? If you're not doing, you're prolonging all this. We could have cut that short very short if we had taken care of the mask, if we had taken care, if we were not arguing that with the facts, okay, and even now with immunization. So I said, "Well, you're not doing your part, buddy, and you need to do that. If you don't do that, don't. We cannot just think that, oh, it will go away. When it's going away? No, 6 months, 3 months, 9 months. No, it doesn't work like that. We all have to do our part. You know that is the important thing that they're missing. So but they do lose patience with that. Okay, it's not done, it's not, we're losing patience. But I said, virus is not going to lose patience. I mean, that does not, that small thing, it's like perfect on and knows what to do. So it's so we had to learn. Okay, but it was hard. I think that I felt a lot of people had hard time understanding the basics.
Yeah, absolutely, Dr. Moby. And I'm gonna take a swing at something. And I'm not a medical guy, Dr. Moby, so I'm not
Um,
gonna even attempt to talk about medicine nor anything related to pandemic. But I want to take it in a different direction really quickly. And that is the pandemic that we've been facing for a long time. And when I think of this, and I made a podcast episode on this on the One Life podcast, I've been practicing social distancing for such a long time, for way more than just the past 18 months or so. You may be thinking, what do you stand 6 feet behind people? No, I stand a lot further away from people that just dump nothing but negativity into my mind. It was Earl Nightingale who once said in 1959 on The Strangest Secret that we now live in the phenobarbital age, the age of ulcers that are brought about by nothing but your thinking. More heart attacks and depression and anxiety, all brought about by your thinking. And when I think about all of this, a lot of the time is we are products of our environment. We are. From the time that we are little babies, we speak the language we speak because that's the language that everybody around us speaks. We like the food we like because that's what we're given by the people around us. But the thing is that as we grew up, we continued to act the same way. And we just continue to allow people to pour into us whatever they want to. It was Zig Ziglar who once said in his book, See You at the Top, it was a phenomenal book. He says, if somebody comes into your house and starts dumping trash all over your floor, one of three things are going to happen. You're going to come out and you're going to beat the heck out of me. You're going to come out with a shotgun and you're going to say, you better get the hell out and pick it up before I shoot you. Or number three, you're going to hold me down until the cops come and arrest me. You're going to be up in arms that I'm in your house dumping trash. But the thing is that people are dumping trash into our heads every day. But yet we don't get upset. We just allow them to do it. But we don't have to accept what other people think. And to me, this is a real problem. Because you could chase all your dreams and ambitions and your goals, but if you're hanging around with people, they say that you make between $2,000 to $3,000 of the people that are closest to you, the 5 closest people to you. You make between $2,000 and $3,000. There's probably some people listening to this right now saying, I got to go make me some new friends. And I agree with you. So just be careful because the pandemic, yes, it is coming to an end. But there's another one that's going to persist the rest of your life. And that is all of the negativity. And yes, it might not literally kill you. Thank God it might. A lot of people have developed ulcers, heart attacks, all from their own thinking of worrying about the future and so forth. And of course, there's, I'm not a therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist, and that is not my expertise. Not at all. But what I do know What I do know is that when you start to tune into better things, you start to turn into a better person. And that's what happened to me, Dr. Moby, when I started to listen to more positive, uplifting things. My whole life and attitude began to change. Instead of just pouring reality television, pouring the news, pouring the newspapers, pouring in all the social media, I started focusing on how can I just train my mind to think better. So that's what I got to say, Dr. Moby. That's a real problem in our society too.
That's absolutely right. What you said is absolutely. And before, also, I want to again point out, when you are happy and when you are thinking positive, brain is wired in a way that actually all your senses are resonating when you are in a good mood. I'm sure the example anybody can feel that when you're in good mood, you appreciate a lot of colors, you appreciate a lot of sound, you appreciate everything. When we are sad, when we are depressed, when we have this negative people around us or negativity around us, it tends to actually blunt all these senses, and it puts us in a cage, which is self-imposed cage, and where you cannot even feel or do anything. So people could be sitting for hours on a chair and being sad and thinking negative and sad. um, you
And
know
Dr. Moby, let me say that it is very true what you're saying.
mm,
I've dealt with some people in my life where I witnessed this firsthand, and it's heartbreaking. And I just want everybody that's listening to this, listening to you and me
mhm,
talk about this, Dr. Moby, that it's okay to feel like that. It's
mhm,
okay.
mhm.
But that doesn't mean you have to continue to feel like that. You can do a lot of things to escape it, but it is so tough, Dr. Moby. I just want to recognize everybody out there that is dealing with some mental health issue. I've seen it firsthand with people in my family struggle to their wits end with this thing. And you're not alone. There's somebody out there that loves you, that cares for you. Allow them to help you, because nobody wants to see you how you are, because I'm sure that there's somebody that loves you and cares for you. So just know that somebody's caring for you, loving for you, praying for you, and that you're not alone in this fight, because I know that it might feel like you are, but you got a brother, sister, mother, father, somebody, and sometimes you might not even ever meet that person that is
Yeah,
caring for you and loving for you. So I just wanted you to know that you are not alone.
and that is so true. That there is always, there will be always somebody who will be praying and helping you. So don't lose hope, and that's true. That's such an important topic. And I think with this we already reached half hour of our conversation. It was fun talking to you, and it was such a I'm so impressed by your all the what you went through and how you dealt with. So life can give you lemon, but you can make lemonade.
That's right.
So we end that, and any final thought or final message you have, Devin?
No, just thank you, Dr. Moby. This was a really, really awesome experience. You are a very pleasant guest, and I love the communication that we had on here and prior to our conversation as well. So professional. Everybody that's listening to this, you have somebody that is very special in Dr. Moby. So continue to follow Dr. Moby, as he is special. And if you want to check out what I got going on, you can follow
Yeah.
me on Instagram at I am Deven Rodriguez. And you can check out the One Life podcast. It's on all podcasting platforms. But besides that, I just wish everybody the best of 2021, as we still got 6 months left. And I would just say, really, really begin to invest in yourself if you're not. Read the
Yeah.
books, go to some courses, do something, because
Yeah.
your life will dramatically change once you say that I am done living and being the person that I used to be. So, Dr. Moby, thank you. And I appreciate you with all of my heart, sir. I can't wait to have you on my podcast.
Yes, he will be blessed, and I cannot even imagine what we're gonna talk about because we were totally unscripted, and I love that because it was such a natural conversation. Thank you once again. Take care.
Thank you, Dr. Moby. Bye bye.